Over the past 2 years, I've made an effort to discover a side of me that I've never really did a good job at exploring, my spiritual side. I'm not a religious person, although I was brought up a Catholic as a kid. However, growing up and having to face adulthood very early in my life, I've always looked at our human existence through a very pragmatic lens. And that started to change when I enrolled in architecture school. Because of my studies, all of a sudden what mattered to me wasn't what I was doing because I had to do it, it was what I was doing because of what I was discovering through learning. This was the result of a process of introspection and discovery that was very new to me. That was the beginning of a journey that pushed me to graduate with a bachelor project of architecture titled Cogito Ergo Sum. I think, therefore I am. Going into work after graduation brought me back to the reality of the daily problems that most of us face every day, dealing with the things that we have to do because we need to survive. Probably the most important of them all, it's work. We work to pay for shelter, we work to pay for food, we work to pay for all our needs and the things that we want to own. We work with the hope to break through and gain the social status that we crave. And in the process sometimes we forget to stay true to ourselves and just become part of a system. I think that the psychological need that many creative people have of wanting to start their own company is mainly due to this. We want to make something that it's ours and that represents who we are and that defines our persona and how we show ourselves to the world. And when I co-founded the D2 conference, that was my biggest achievement because for once, there was something that I was doing that wasn't just a job. It was a vision and a reflection of myself for the entire world to see. In the period that went from me getting a job and slowly realizing that I wanted to make my own thing, I found a lot of moral help and support in watching YouTube videos. People like Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, and then later on I was inspired by the work of Tim Ferriss, Seth Godin, Gary Vee, Chris Do, who I was also lucky enough to meet and study from. Who else? Let's see. I'm looking at the books laying around. Yeah, of course, Simon Sinek. At the moment I'm watching a lot of different stuff, a few Indian content creators that make really interesting stuff. Lately I've been fascinated and interested by spirituality more and more rather than praxis. Anyway, all of these guys, they fall into the so-called category of gurus. I heard this term many times, I joke about it with my friends saying that I'm trying to become a guru myself, but truth to be told, probably none of these guys does the stuff that they do with the idea or the will to be considered gurus. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just me, but anyway, I think there is a negative connotation to the word guru also. It's like calling someone a know-it-all. Now, people tend to organize information, all type of information, into categories. That is what our brain does by default. It creates these little boxes to organize things so that it's easier and faster to pull out that information when it's needed. Even as an artist, you probably don't realize it. If you see an image, you almost in real time can say whether or not it's a 3D image, if it's a 2D illustration made in Photoshop, if it's an archivist rendering, if it's a piece of concept art. And the same thing happens with the type of content that you might find online, like my own videos. The reality is that information, all information, it's present everywhere and in all forms. And actually our ability to look past these so-called boxes with which we organize and categorize things is what can help you to find more useful information for yourself. Apparently this is not an easy task for many. A funny episode, I recently got a message from someone that came looking for tutorials on my channel because I like to talk about archivism among many other things, and I'm like, dude, really? And I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe it's my fault for not making it clear, maybe some people simply lack the ability to find the link between the type of information that I share and the role that this information can play in one's artist or designer personal growth. Maybe it's because I come from the archivist industry, so some people have locked me into that box and they cannot see further than that. But anyway, thing is, we need information. If we look at it from a professional perspective, information allows us to be competitive. The more we know about something, the better we can be about that thing. However, our ability to filter information is what can set us apart from the competition. I remember one of the early videos that I was watching from Les Brown. I remember thinking so negatively about that video because I'm not sure if you know who Les Brown is. It's this guy that always shouts, "There is greatness within you."
You have something special. You have greatness within you. That story that you have can impact people's lives.
And I remember listening to this video whilst I was at work. I was feeling frustrated because of how things were going back then. And I was thinking to myself, no, you don't. You don't have greatness. I can certainly tell you that at work, where I am right now, nobody appreciates what I do. And so it was almost licit for me to think, you know, maybe I'm just a normal person. But in a way I was wrong about this, because the message from Les Brown is right. You do have greatness in you if you put yourself in the context of trying to be better than you are. And to be honest, in retrospective, now looking back at the person that I wasn't trying to be better than I was. I simply wasn't. You're not going to be great unless you implement action in your thinking. And eventually the video that I watched from Les Brown alone did not do a good job of making me understand this. Lucky enough, I had the chance to read a book of his. This is another golden tip. If you find a good content creator and you like the stuff that they put out, look for any written material that they might have made. Because reading, especially books, to me, this is still the best thing to do when it comes to learning, because it will push your brain to think analytically about the stuff that you're reading, and it will translate it into ideas that will stick inside your brain better than they usually do on a video. At least this is my personal experience. But with that said, still, information is everywhere. Do not put in the guru box those who are trying to share a positive message to help you be a better version of yourself. Instead, try to use your analytical ability to think and identify the information that you need, take what you need, process that information the way it needs to be processed, and don't let the rest get to your head. When it comes to the videos that I make, I like to think that mine is a channel that tries to help artists and designers to think a bit more clearly and logically about life, both from a professional and a personal standpoint. Try to find the link between what I say and what you need. And the rest, if you don't need it, leave it out, it's perfectly fine. The important thing is that even if you do use by default these boxes to organize information in your life, you never, ever have to make the mistake to put yourself in one single box and lock it, because this will limit your potentials. You might think of yourself as a designer or as an artist, but the reality is that you are so much more. So please don't forget that you, as a person, are truly limitless. Thanks a lot for watching. My name is Fabio Palvelli. See you guys next time.